Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Here's to everything we'll discover together. Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Today we are joined by Nelson Castille. He is a prophet, apostle, educator, healer, mystic, author, and mentor. He has experienced direct visitation from heaven and a transformational meeting with Yeshua, showing us the truth can be found beyond any single tradition. If you're ready to explore the reality of heaven and learn from someone who walks between both worlds, you are in the right place. Welcome to The Returned, Nelson.
Hi, I'm elated to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nelson, can you take us back to that first moment in 2017 when you heard the audible voice of God? Can you also tell us what it felt like and how it changed you at that time?
Yeah, so as you said, my supernatural journey really did start at January of 2017. Like a lot of people, I grew up Christian and I was a part of one church for my whole life until I stopped going altogether. So that's, well, at this point, that's most of my life given a framework that God only speaks to you through the pages of the Bible, right? God doesn't have anything new to say. Anything that God has to tell you is already in the book. You just got to read it, was how I was trained. Yeah, that shattered for me when, like I said, January 2017, I'm doing laundry. I'm in my bedroom doing laundry. I hate doing laundry, so I wasn't even having fun. And I just started hearing the audible voice of God speak to me directly. And it was in that moment I heard a few things. That was when Yeshua told me that I was a prophet. I didn't know anything about prophets because I grew up Baptist. We had pastors, sometimes evangelists, some deacons, and things like that. But prophets, no, didn't really know what that was or what that was supposed to mean. And there were some other things that he said, but honestly, I don't remember just because I was so fascinated that he was talking to me that I wasn't really listening. um, Jump cut to that summer because I was still in high school when that happened to me. I spent 3 months with no sleep talking to the royal family all day long. So I would leave out in the mornings, I would go do my chores, and then go back in my room so that I could be left to ask questions and just spend time with them. And it was in that period of time that I learned the difference between my thoughts and them speaking to me and the difference between them against each other, how they sound, their personality, their speaking patterns, their voices, their frequency, the way they feel. It was 3 months of immersion pretty much. So I always say I've never felt more energy than the 3 months I spent with no sleep. And so that was my start. It was in that time period. That's when I really started seeing angels and demons and saints from the cloud of witnesses would start to pop in, and all types of stuff like that started happening around that time just because of how immersed I was in that culture. And that's something that I've maintained since then. So it's just been an upward journey. It's only gotten more supernatural from that point.
So you said that you were speaking with the royal family there, and I was just hoping that you could clarify what that is and what that means to you.
Yeah, so in the Bible, they use the word Elohim, right? Elohim is a plural term, and it actually reveals God as a family of sorts, right? So in that, I'm talking about the Father, I'm talking about Holy Spirit, I'm talking about Yeshua. It's a plurality there. I know a lot of Christians have a monotheistic presentation, but the Bible itself is very polytheistic, and all of them are included in one big happy family. So when I
Do you
refer
still read
to,
the Bible to this day?
do I still read it regularly? No, I'm very familiar with it though. Like that's one of the things I got in trouble for doing as a kid because it's like they told me that this book was God and the only way God talks, and then when I started reading it cover to cover and cover to cover, I got in trouble for that. They told me I wasn't supposed to read it that way. But yeah, I have decent memory. I've read it multiple times. I refresh myself every now and then because I teach a lot. So I like to make sure that memory isn't getting warped, but it's not necessarily part of my regular practice these days.
How did your supernatural encounters reshape your spiritual understandings?
So I made a decision that a lot of other mystics, especially at this time, because I still considered myself a Christian mystic, I made a decision that a lot of others don't, which is to trust my encounters more than I trusted whatever dogma or doctrine that I was being given before or during that time. Because the way I saw it is, if this is God and God is talking to me, God can be trusted more than I'm like, if I believe that my knowings are finite and I don't know anything, I don't know everything, right? I could be wrong, right? If I study something, my conclusion might not be the right conclusion, even if it makes sense. And vice versa, just because I learned something from someone doesn't necessarily make their stance true either. I realized that the only credible source was the divine itself. So that's a very trusting decision I made. Even going back to 2020, early 2020, before everyone really started having their deconstruction journeys and everything, I had a real reflective moment with myself when I realized that there were things that I was teaching that no one in the royal family had verified, right? It was things that I was taught, things that I had read in books, but at no point could I say, God taught me this, the Father told me this, Yeshua told me this, Holy Spirit said this was true. So I started over. So I'm like, anything that they haven't verified, I refuse to teach. So I've been actively relearning everything. I've made the decision, right? Most people are afraid to start over because they're afraid of being wrong. So I started there. I'm like, okay, I'm already wrong. We're already wrong. So all I can do is learn from this point forward. Whatever they don't validate, I won't teach. And I'm just going to re-ask them everything. So I've been actively relearning everything for the past 5 years from them, pretty much.
Wow, you're a busy guy. Can you take us through the next journey in your life there after the 2017 and how that moved forward?
Yeah, so that was my introduction to the supernatural. So my pastor, he moved in some level of the supernatural, but it wasn't super common, right? There was moments where he would go pray for people who were in ICU Saturday night, Sunday morning, they're completely healed. That was few and far between, but it happened. Um, there were other moments of him prophesying. It was rare. It was more so the point I'm making. So my pastor specifically never had an issue with me moving in the supernatural or the things that I was experiencing. He was actually one of the first out-of-body experiences that I heard of. Um, and I don't know if you want me to tell his story. So, but
Well, if
that,
you feel you can, if you like to, sure.
but that was one of my main inspirations to even seeing that something like that is real, because you hear about stuff on TV and things like that, but you don't know, maybe they're getting paid, they're just telling good stories. But my pastor had this experience. I'm like, I know this guy, I talk to him every day. Like, my pastor was one of the only pastors in the city I trust, because hey, you're crooks. And mine just happened to not be one. uh So in that process, right, I'm getting introduced to the supernatural for the first time, and I have a desire for more. Like, I'm reading the Bible through a different lens, and I'm looking at things, and this is back to like 2020ish, right? I mean 2017 to 2020. I'm looking at the Bible and I'm saying, if this is supposed to be the same God that we have access to, we're supposed to be seeing the same stuff, right? I'm like, I want to see the fire get called down. I want to watch water part. I want to walk on water. I want to heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out. Like, if this is supposedly the same God, we need to be seeing a lot more of this than we are. So I started seeking after the supernatural. I had no one to teach me because my pastor, though he walked in it, it was accidental. That stuff just happened whenever it happened for him. He didn't know any of the mechanics. He was just telling me, "Hey, keep seeking God. I don't know what else to tell you." Um, Other people in the church didn't like the fact that I was pursuing the supernatural at all because that was outside of their comfort zone. Number one fear for people is the fear of the unknown. Anytime you step outside the box, you're going to freak people out that are in the box. And that's for multiple reasons. So I'm doing the research that I can. I'm studying people. Like, not only am I reading through the Bible, getting my inspiration, but I started studying people in the modern day who also walked in the supernatural. I came across a book called God's Generals by Robert Liardon. It was, I want to say, like the first volume he did, called Why They Succeeded and Why They Failed. And it had people like John Alexander Dowie, Catherine Kuhlman, Smith Wigglesworth. And I'm reading those stories about their lives. Like I'm seeing how their childhood, how they grew up, the encounters that led to them moving in the spirit, the failures that some of them had. And the thing that's inspiring me the most is that these are modern people, right? We have videos of some of these people. Some of their children are still alive. Some of the people who saw them in person are still alive. And that registered for me that, no, for real, this stuff isn't something that happened 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 years ago and just doesn't happen anymore because we just don't do that, but something that has always been around and still is here today. And it made it easier for me to see myself as a candidate for the supernatural. I'm like, now that I know, like, these people there's videos on YouTube of A.A. Allen just healing and doing miracles all day long. There's videos of Catherine Kuhlman. She was so good at healing that doctors would prescribe people to go to her meetings to get healing. You have John G. Lake. In the time when he was active, Spokane, Washington was considered the healthiest city in the world, and all he did was pray for people and teach them how to pray for the sick too. So I'm watching
So,
people
may
who
I interject
understand
for
it.
just a sec? Sorry. May I interject for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what you're saying is what I'm hearing there is we can heal ourselves,
Yes.
right? That's the main theme I'm seeing here. I like that idea. Okay, sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're good. You're good. So I'm getting inspired by watching all these people in the modern day, like from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Some of them didn't die. Like they're getting a little close. Some of their students still alive. Like I had a conversation with someone who was mentored by A.A. Allen, who remembered. Like I'm like, I've been around these. Like, these are real people, real stories. You can go to where they were. Um, And like, one of the verses in the Bible that inspired me around this time was John 14:12 through 14. And a lot of people quote it because it's a fantastic presentation of Yeshua's actual mentality concerning us. And it's where he said, if you believe in me and the works that I do, those same works shall you do. And even greater works than these shall you do, because I go to the Father. Oh, that shows us that we have the same capabilities as him. So like you were saying, not only can we heal, pretty much anything you believe he can do, you can do. Because his main message is, well, he came to convince us to be more of ourselves. He's just us inside out. Like, he was the evangelist to mankind, convincing us to be royalty, convincing us to be divine. And that's what was inspiring me the most. It was because they can do it, I can do it. Because he could do it, I can do it. I just got to learn how. So I had a long journey of pretty much training myself in all of this stuff. Trial and error, intentional time, sitting and listening, learning, having conversations with the royal family. It took some time, but I figured some stuff out.
So, why do you feel that you were chosen to step into this role?
I think the reason, if I was to give a reason, would just be the fact that I made one decision that most others don't, which is to fully trust them with what they're telling me. It's like them and their infinite knowledge knew that I could be trusted to just do what they told me to do, that I would consider them a good source of information. Like, fear of man is something I don't really struggle with.
Do you think that others can do this if we learn how to completely trust?
Absolutely. Everyone can do this. Like, even in that regard, I'm not special. I'm just one of the first people to think like that. But everyone can walk in the same stuff. Like, we can all heal the sick, raise the dead, cast out devils, do all of that, available for everybody.
Did you meet them face to face or see them um, in your journey?
Yeah, so I've maintained a face-to-face relationship with all of them. Um, It was around 2018. It was either 2017, 2018. I had my first face-to-face encounter with Holy Spirit. For a few days before this encounter, I was having small visions of something that kind of looked like the Human Torch. You know, Fantastic Four is in theaters right now. It was like Human Torch, but uh, it was like a feminine-esque silhouette. I didn't really know what I was looking at. It looked like someone wearing a robe, kind of, sort of, but they were entirely made out of fire. I don't know, right? So there came a moment where I'm in my bedroom and I go into this open vision where it's almost like a portal or a doorway kind of opens up. Both the realms kind of converge into this pocket area. And Holy Spirit steps into my bedroom. And one thing, it's a woman. That blew my mind. I'm watching her
Oh,
hair
wow.
is fire. Her eyes are fire. She has a few other tufts of fire. If you've ever seen those menorah, the candlesticks with the 7 candles on it, she was like one of those, but living. So she was a woman. She had bronze skin. She had on these gold and white robes. There was this altar and stone area behind her. And as I'm looking at her, you talk about encounter shaping your theology. I'm looking at this woman that I know is Holy Spirit, and a lot of the verses that I had already studied started to come back into mind. And I'm like, we're born of the Spirit. Men don't give birth. You were brooding over the
Right.
waters. Men don't brood. He said, I'm going to send my comforter. And there's this teacher that's going to, okay, a comforting teacher, giving birth and brooding over. Oh, you're our mom. And that was how that. Now, at this time, I was still scared of my surroundings, right? I'm getting in trouble, not by my pastor, but by other people at the church because I'm interested in healing the sick. I'm not even doing it yet. I'm just interested in healing the sick, casting out devils, uh, prophecy and things like that. I'm interested in the supernatural, and I'm already getting in trouble. I knew it was over for me if I told them Holy Spirit was a woman, so I kept that as a secret for a few years until I gained some confidence. So it was in that, like that's another example. So I've maintained that same face-to-face relationship. Now, there reached a moment where I was frustrated because I had seen pretty much everything else. I'm seeing angels, I'm seeing saints, I've seen Holy Spirit, I've had small glimpses of the Father at this point. Um, I'm seeing demons, I'm seeing everything else but Yeshua. And I'm like, okay, does everybody else just love me more than you? Like, why is everything else showing up but not you? And I remember this was a frustrating time. It was like 6 months of this where I'm begging for an encounter and it's just not happening. Again, I'm talking to him every day. I'm just not seeing him at all. And what bothered me is that people that I considered less than me, talk about my ego, right? People who I considered less than me were having the encounters and I wasn't. So I have students who are having face to face encounters where they can see him and I can't, and we're in the same room. That hurt. I'm having classmates who are like, oh, I've seen him several times in dreams. He showed up to me like 3, 4 times. And they're not even good people. I'm like, I'm going to church more than everybody. I'm praying more than everybody. I'm fasting more than I'm reading the Bible more than everybody. I'm like, I talk to you more than ever, and you'll show up for everybody else, but not me. So let's just say I was a brat for about 6 months because I was like, what's the deal? So
Mm-hmm.
jump to January 1st of 2019. It was New Year's. I was on a cruise ship because me and my mom didn't celebrate Christmas. We stopped forever ago just because we didn't like the obligation of the holidays, especially
Yeah.
since us as a family, we give to each other all the time. So it's like, what makes December 24th so special for you to get a gift? I'm
Exactly.
like, I gave you a
Yes.
gift in November and October. You had a gift in September. Like, we give gifts all year long. So we had stopped. So we're on this cruise ship and I'm in the cabin reading a book. And all of a sudden, like, I'm in our bedroom reading a book. And all of a sudden, I feel Yeshua's presence come into the room. That's not foreign to me. I felt his presence every day, right? But for some reason, I decided to turn and look in the direction that I was sensing him in, and he walked through the wall. And I understand why they use the phrase undone when they talk about having divine encounters in the Bible. Because I felt like I got taken apart and put back together. My body slumped into the chair, my soul went one way, my spirit went another way, and then all of them came back together, and then he turned and went back through the wall. People ask me, what did he look like? Well, in this moment, right, because the desire of my heart, I didn't have any racial thing behind it. I wasn't like, prove to me you're black, prove to me you're not white, prove to me this. I was like, no, show me who you are, like the real you. It's kind of what was in my head. And when he appeared, he looked like a nebula. He looked like outer space condensed into humanoid shape. He still had hair. He had these bright blue, glowing, fiery eyes. Of course, later times I did see him where he looked a whole lot more human in that form. He looks like Bob Marley. That's the closest person that people know. But, you know, I've maintained that relationship. And that's not just something I can see, but like that's something I've been able to walk other people through, is having that face-to-face relationship. Just like you and I decided to see and hear each other in order to do this podcast, this is what prayer is like for me. We sit and we talk to each other face to face, right? So I've never struggled to know if it was them telling me something. The only times I've ever failed at like a prophecy or something is when I was trying something that I learned from like a book or from another prophetic teacher or something that had nothing to do with actually just asking, listening, and repeating what you were hearing. They're like, just speak it by faith. Those failed every time. But anytime they said something and I repeated, it's always been accurate.
Do you, like, so basically, have you seen heaven before?
Yes, that's a daily experience for me. Heaven is also one of those things that we have access to, and you don't have to die to experience heaven.
Okay, please go ahead. Is this out of body experience?
There have been some times my body's come with me. Even more recently, right? Because I've had a lot more time freedom over the last like 3 months to really immerse myself in this. So more times than not, more recently, my body comes with me more times. So there were a few people in the past, like in the same way that you hear about near death experiences, and a few people that have encounters with angels. I had heard of people who had gone to heaven, but it really didn't, like, I didn't think I would be one of those people to have that experience. So one day, right, I'm dealing with my culture for a bit. So I would give the royal family about an hour a day, at least, just to speak into my life, give me correction, feedback, answer my questions or whatever. I would spend at least an hour, right? And this was, at this time in my life, it was 10 p.m. I'm still in high school. So I figure by 10 o'clock, I should be done with everything that I need to do for today. So at 10 p.m. every day, I would go pray. One of these days, this is like 2018, I come out of my prayer closet. I'm full of energy because I just got done spending time with what they call the Trinity, right? I leave out of my prayer closet and I I start walking towards my bed because it is a school night. I'm not sleepy, but I'm at least go get in the bed. Before I make it to my bed, a portal opened up on the side of my bed, and it was like this golden window, and I could see into it for about 2 or 3 seconds. It was real quick. I saw like clouds made of light and some beams of light coming through it, and I could see this silhouette of like a kingdom in the background. And I heard the voice of Yeshua say, soon. It was a real quick interaction. So at that moment, I knew, I was like, okay, he's not threatening to kill me. I'm going to have at least one of those stories where you go in, you see some stuff, and you come back. I'm like, okay. Or sometime after this, I came across a prophet named Bruce Allen who taught about translation by faith, where he's like, oh, accessing heaven is as easy as just deciding to access heaven. And he had a few exercises that he would do. And I remember the first time I did it, I went through the first few steps, and immediately the power and the pressure overwhelmed me, and I slammed flat on the floor in my room. And I was like, okay, this stuff is real. So it was around 2018 that I started like going into the heavens regularly, which also added to frustration with me dealing with Yeshua because I'm like, I'm even accessing heaven and I'm not seeing you. That was part of the frustration. I'm doing everything else but seeing him. So I've been like, so that's been somewhat a daily experience for me. Going in and out of the heavens is something I do all the time. I've been teaching other people how to do it for years, and I've been taking people with me since 2019, 2020. So it's not a hallucination at all. Other people get to go.
Wow. How do you take someone with you?
I walk them through the steps. And I've
Okay.
learned how to refine the steps down for more people because people are wired different. So it really comes down to what comes easier to a person. If I can figure that out, I know what method to use to get them.
So is this a normal thing for you? Is every day an hour a day spending with the royal family?
These days, I'm a bit more unstructured, but I talk to them somewhat daily, right? I might talk to Yeshua like every other day. I might not talk to Holy Spirit for like a week. I might talk to the Father for 3 days in a row. It just depends. Some of those are face to face.
That's so interesting. What would you what would you say to someone that wanted to be able to do what you do? Like, do you have somewhere someone could, you have steps, obviously,
Hmm.
that you could teach someone to do it. And does someone need to be like innerly, like kind of shadow work done? Do they need to be kind of, no? They can just be?
Here's the thing:
Interesting.
we can never clean ourselves up enough to access heaven. You don't get the cleaning you're looking for until you're there. It's like our environment. Your environment shapes the way that you are. We're all products of our environment. Heaven is an environment. So if you start spending a lot of time there, you'll pick up the culture of there, and I don't have to fuss at you. I don't have to coach you. I don't have to check up on you. I don't have to get in your business, tell me what's wrong with you, what are your shortcuts. I don't have to know all of that. I just have to convince you to frequent a place that I'm at all the time, and eventually, what doesn't match there will fall off.
Hmm. So once someone is there, Nelson, would they be walking around? Would they, would there a welcome there?
The most
Yes,
common thing I
everybody's welcome.
the most common thing I hear from people after they go for the first time is when they meet Yeshua or they meet Holy Spirit or they meet the Father who church tells you can't meet. Um, the number one thing they hear them tell them is come back anytime. Finally, you're here. If we were doing something wrong, they would say you're not supposed to be here. Go away. You're not good enough. But no one ever hears that. Everyone, and I've taken hundreds of people at this point.
So let me ask you this. So someone that has a near-death experience may encounter Jesus, God, Mother, anybody, loved ones, but they are sent back. So would you think that that is just due to it not being their time to actually go further?
I think it more so comes down to the method of their engagement. Is that since it's a near death experience, they're disconnected in a way that could result in the loss of their life. There's
Okay.
because the way that I teach, you don't have to lose your life, you don't have to lose consciousness or anything in order to just access the heavens. So there's dangers that
Yeah.
someone might be in from experiencing it through a near death experience.
Well, yeah, because some of the people, they want to stay, right? They want to stay there. They said, like, it's beautiful, it's this, it's that. They want to stay there, but they're told, no, they've got to go back. So I'm curious to know if that happens with someone, but we can access heaven on a daily basis. If I did want to cross over, why couldn't I?
Yeah, so it just goes down to the method. If you're about to die and that's the way, or you actually did die and that's the way you crossed over, they're likely going to try to send you back. But if you just go and you're not trying to stay, because we still have work to do here, right? There's no escapism. Going every day gives us a blueprint and a framework to work with It gives us empowerment. It gives us connection. It gives us all the resources we need to make this place a whole lot better. You need to be alive for this, which is why I'm also an immortality teacher. Death really serves no function.
Do you think we die?
Yes.
Like we do die, physical death. I know that your body dies, of course. But do we die? Does our soul die? Or do we carry on,
Yeah. So
in your opinion?
your body, soul, and spirit are all you. So that form of death, even your body dying, is still a death that's unnecessary. Like they even reference that a few times in the Bible. They say, "My people perish due to a lack of knowledge." You have Yeshua. He comes onto the scene. One of his main messages is immortality. He said, "I've come that you might have life and life more abundantly." He's not trying to kill anybody. Tells you that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. God's not trying to kill anybody. He's raising the dead. That's how much he doesn't want you in a grave.
Wow, that's powerful. Very, very much powerful. I wanted to discuss a little bit about what you discovered about the truth in other cultures. Plus, I think it's
Comeditism.
Comeditism. Yes. And then you also had Mesopotamia. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I'd like to know, though, how that all comes together to form your your view of spirituality, I should say.
Yeah, I like that. So I recognize that the royal family, or even if we were going to be monotheistic and just say God, right? I recognize that God is not owned by any one culture. No one has a copyright on heaven. They don't own their deities. Nothing, right? They might just, in most cases, they're just using it as a mascot. Deities are separate from the people that claim them. In a separate thing, right? That's part of the answer I want to give. I was taught from the earliest part of my life that God is supposed to be omnipresent. It's impossible to be omnipresent and you only exist in Israel. That no one knows you outside of Israel. So it was that train of thought that led me to saying, okay, in order for you to be you and you be as powerful as you are or as powerful as y'all are, because I'm talking to a family, I'm like, y'all have to be other places. So very relationally, I would ask them, I'm like, okay, how do they know any of y'all over here? Right, we're in India. What do the Indians know you? What about over in China? Do the Chinese know you? What do they know you at? And it was just my intrigue. You know, I treat them, the Bible says you come before them as a little child. Well, think about toddlers. They reach 2 and 3, maybe 4, and all they do is ask you questions all day. Ooh, what's this? How's that work? What about this? What about that? Do the same thing. So I was doing that to them. I'm like, well, what about over here? What about over there? I recognize that all of it is like one big puzzle, right? Everything carries a piece of the divine. Everything carries a fractal, at the very least, of God. Some more than others, but some nonetheless. Which means that there's no culture, no people that I can rule out 100%. Because even a culture I don't like, they mess up a lot, they still carry some level of life, light, and truth that is valuable, and that's the thing I'm looking for. I'm like, show me the thing that is divine, because that's what I'm after. Me divorcing from Christianity as a framework meant that I'm no longer even trying to prove my faction. I'm just looking for what's true. So when I encounter Yeshua in India, that doesn't pose a threat to me because I'm not trying to make Christianity the only stream into the kingdom. When I encounter Holy Spirit in Egypt, that doesn't mess with me because it's not a faction war to me anymore. So it was a mix of those things, asking them questions and then having as many encounters with them. In some cases, I recognize them by the artwork in other cultures. I'm like, wait a minute, that looks just like you. Is that you? They're like, yes. Like speaking specifically about Egypt, I started studying Egypt because of Yeshua. I was doing what I call a puzzle piece session a few years ago. I'm laying on my office floor and I'm listening to audiobooks all day long. This is how I study. I'm listening, going through a bunch of different texts, seeing if they highlight anything, seeing if they say anything, just to see if I can find something. And not saying there is nothing to be learned in this particular culture or in these texts. Just wasn't that day. I had went through the Vedas, I went through the Bhagavad Gita. Nothing was highlighted. Eventually, I swapped over from that. I was like, well, let me try the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Found an audio book and I was listening to it. About 4 or 5 minutes in, I'm getting overwhelmed by the presence of God. I'm like, hold up a minute. And people that know me know I don't overwhelm easy. I'm the one person that the preacher lays hands on and I don't fall. 11 times out of 10, right? But I am completely wrecked on my floor. I'm like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you know the Egyptians? And he's like, of course. So then I start studying. I'm like, okay, let me see what I can find. And what I was able to find is that, the Egyptians got lied on. They were never the enemies of God. No, they're just the older cousin of the Hebrew. That's it. Their cosmology, their structure is the same as most ancient structures. They're talking about a lot of the same things just from a different angle. They were focused more so on the natural world. So they observed nature in order to understand themselves, to understand the cosmos, to understand divinity. They just watch nature. So all of their stuff, like, people will get freaked out. They're like, oh no, that's a humanoid. This is a being of some sort. This is freaky. It's like, oh, this is a code. Right? In the Hebrew tradition, they have like hundreds of names for Yahweh. You have Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah Seekin, all these different names talking about the same individual. Well, the Egyptians did that too, for the most part. They just drew them instead of named them. In fact, this is Yeshua and this is John the Baptist. Same story, same roles. This is Heru, right? Heru, his name means he who sits above, or the Most High, the Son of the Most High, but it's also plural, right? In English, something ends with an S, it's likely plural. In Hebrew, it ends with im, it's plural. Well, in Medu Neter, which is the Egyptian language, it ends with u, that's plural. So Heru represents all of us, the sons of the Most High, thus all of us as children of God. So this is the first archetype of the child of God, the son of God.
That's interesting.
This is the baptizer.
Cool.
The baptizer is necessary for you to transition and fully rule and reign as a son. This is no different than the stuff Yeshua was talking about. And as I started to study Yeshua more, I found that a lot of stuff in the Bible is very much Kemetic. It's just that we are taught to look at the Greek, the Latin, and sometimes the Hebrew. We miss out on the cultural aspects of what's going on. Like, in order to, even if we're just going to stick with the Bible, in order to fully understand what's going on there, you kind of have to take into account all the cultures present. So I've gotten familiar with the Canaanites, the Assyrians, the Ugaritic people, the Sumerians, the Hebrews on their own, the individual tribes within the Hebrews. And when I say Hebrews, not just the Israelite branch, but even the Islamic branch, because they are still Hebrews. People just like being racist. They're like, so I've studied all those individual groups, and they tell on each other, as you do when you get everyone's side of a story. So something I've begun to share with people is that the Bible is kind of like Wikipedia. That's how I treat it. In that they always say in college you can't use Wikipedia as a source, but you can use the sources within Wikipedia as your source. The Bible is a compilation of Hebrew, Sumerian, or let's just say Mesopotamian, and Egyptian scriptures haphazardly stitched together by the Romans. So what I started doing is going to the stories before they were in the Bible and reading those for what they were. Gives you a different presentation and a lot of stuff makes sense. And in that, I was able to recognize cultural themes all throughout the Bible. I said all that to talk about Yeshua and his Egyptian connection. There's one famous moment that people debate about all the time, and it's why he chose to ride in on a donkey. Because that's not a Hebrew concept and it's not a Greek concept. You ask people, they're like, why did he ride in on a donkey? They say, oh, it was to represent humility. That's because they don't know, right? When you study it from a Kemetic standpoint, well, the donkey actually represents Set, who is their archetype for Satan. So, not only is the enemy your footstool, but your mode of transportation to destiny. Him riding in on a donkey was him showing that he had already conquered Satan himself. Nothing that he was doing was for him at this point. Everything was for us. That's a bit more powerful than us just trying to make him humble. But that's not a Hebrew theme. That's not a Greek theme. That's an Egyptian theme.
That is so interesting. I have sitting behind me right now, I was gifted this 250-year-old Bible. It's right here. It is from my grandparents, but it's sitting behind here. It's old as, well, it needs to be restored, but boy, is it ever interesting. But my question about the Bible, what about all the rewriting, all the different versions? What about all, like, I often hear people talking about it being man-made, right? A lot of, how do we know that that's not what it is? Or is it?
Yeah, the Bible is very much altered, mishandled, mismatched, mistranslated. You have things added to it, taken away from it. Yeah, I believe in its fallibility. I still
So do
learned
I.
a lot from it. I've gotten inspiration from it, but it has its flaws. It has a bunch of them. Especially the more that I studied, the worse it got.
Ooh, really? So if you were to, no, let's go this route. Say someone wanted to deepen their spirituality walk, what do you feel would be the best wisdom and encouragement you could offer them?
So I would start them off with this. You can get to know the royal family to the same dimension that I do. You can hear them, they will talk back to you. You can see them, right? You can actually build intimacy with them if you set aside the time to. So by being intentional, treat spirituality like dating or trying to make a good friend. You have to spend intentional time getting to know them, building rapport with them. So like I said, in my early years, I would give at least 1 hour just to develop that relationship. Now I'm, what, 8, 9 years later, and it's only gone uphill from there. I started with
So like, does
just,
someone pray?
well, not even just the prayer aspect, but intentionally listening. Because that's something,
Okay.
even when I was a Christian, that I found out that we were being taught wrong on, is that we're taught to pray and just hope that things turn out. We never really give them a chance to tell us anything or give us feedback. So a simple key I use is that I would always listen for longer than I talk. So if I'm spending an hour in prayer, I would do talking for, let's just say, the first 15, 20 minutes, and I would listen for the rest of it. Sometimes I would get an answer before I could get the question out. Sometimes I'm sitting there for 2 hours before I hear back, but I always made sure to hear back clearly. I like that joke they have with Denzel Washington where he's like, I'm leaving here with something. That's how I was. I was like, I'm getting something out of this every day. Like there were some times where I'd ask a question, I'd sit there for 3, 4 hours, and then they would say, all right, you can get up and leave now. I'm like, that's enough, right? You told me to leave. That means I got what I needed today. And just when I thought I didn't get an answer, someone would come ask me a question about that and the answer would fly out. I'm like, oh, they did share it. I just didn't hear it. I got to download this time. But I made sure to most of the time hear. So that would be my advice.
Do all of us have that ability out the gate?
It can be cultivated. Most of us come here with the ability to see and hear and all of that stuff, and we get trained out of it as kids. Like for me, I had experiences when I was a toddler. Right, I used to see beings all through the house. I thought everybody saw them, so I didn't think anything was up. I used to be able to walk past people while they were asleep and watch their dreams like I was watching TV. I didn't know that that was something other people couldn't do. Eventually, I couldn't do that anymore. I'm like 5 or 6 years old. It doesn't happen anymore. I got taught how to be normal. So everything I do now is stuff I've trained myself to do. So that's why I can say that you can learn how to do everything.
I'd like to touch a little bit on your out of body experiences. I know that you do that a lot, right? So you did say that you go with your body and you can go without your body. Now, if I was to do this and go with my body, what does that look like?
That's a little difficult. So the best way I could describe it, just from like a first person perspective, is that it's almost as if instead of going somewhere, a world manifests itself around you.
Okay.
So it's like
Okay.
watching a video game load is kind of how it feels.
Okay. Do you think that we might um, go to these different places when we dream?
Yes. So in a lot of cases, dreaming in general is astral travel. Even if people want to demonize astral travel, you can't dream and not astral travel. That's just the mechanic behind dreams. When you dream, there's a part of your soul that goes on a journey to collect your mail. That's what's going on, which is why you can see all types of stuff, right? Any mail that you have from when you were a kid, from that day, it could be coming from demonic influences, it could be coming from heavenly influences, it could be coming from yourself. Whatever information you'd received, there's a part of your soul that goes to read all of that when you're unconscious. And that's what we call dreams. All dreams are messages. Not all messages are important.
That is very interesting. And so now, if I was to astral travel out of body, that is where I have a sleep paralysis and I come out, or I put myself in sleep paralysis or something like that, or
So my method is a little bit different. Operating as your soul or operating in your spirit doesn't require your body to do anything different because they're not actually tied to each other in that way. You remember those old sitcoms or old cartoons where you'd have those kids trying to sneak into a movie theater and they get on each other's shoulders and under the big trench coat? That's us.
oh, yeah, yeah.
We're three people working together, but three separate people. Your body is one of you, your soul is another you, and your spirit is another you. They're already in other worlds. So you don't actually have to get your soul to go somewhere. Your soul is already there. The journey is looking through the eyes of your soul. The journey isn't
My
trying to
goodness.
get your spirit to go anywhere. Your spirit's already in the spirit world. So the journey or the exercise is looking through the eyes of your spirit and just navigating a different body consciously.
Whoa. So we are in different dimensions all at one time. Why is that?
We're
Sorry,
designed for all
I
three
know it
worlds,
sounds simple. Okay.
right? So there's three worlds. There's a spirit world, an astral world, and a natural world, which we also call the universe or multiverse. All of them play different roles. All of them have a function. We have a body for each world. So we're a little bit unique within all three realities because we're one of the few things that's in all three places all the time. Spirits are just spirits.
Interesting.
We are spirits, but we're also soul and we're also body. You know, you have some things that are only natural. They only exist on Earth. You're not going to find them in the astral plane. You're not going to find them in the spirit world. We're in all three. That makes us a little special.
Very much so. So just per se, I have a dream and I see myself in the dream. I give myself a gift in my dream. I then, in my dream, realize that I'm dreaming and I wake up and I know I'm in a dream now. And then I come back to my body. I see myself. I come back, right? That other person that I seen in that dream was me, the spirit or the soul,
There you go.
correct? And they were giving me a gift for me to fill up on, or however you want to kind of put it, right? Interesting. I never heard that analogy before.
Yeah. And that's why, like,
That is very
the interview
interesting.
that a lot of y'all found me on when I was on the Paradigm Experience, that's why I have such a success with getting people to have the experiences, because I don't trap you in your body. I know they're not connected, so I don't try to get you to deconnect. I don't need you to paralyze yourself. I don't need you to get real sleepy and then try to regain consciousness. I don't need you to play binaural beats until you go into a flow state. It's not necessary.
So then how do I do this? No. I don't want you to answer that yet. So I'd like to know if I wanted to do that, or anybody else watching. Is this something, say someone like me or anybody else would be fearful of the first time?
Likely. And the thing
Okay.
is, it's like swimming. You don't realize how scared you are until you go to do it.
Right. Okay.
It's like teaching someone to float
Okay.
in the water. You have to relax in order to float. You have to relax in order to be able to swim. So I often equate like being in other worlds and shifting consciousness to almost like intentionally drowning yourself.
Wow. Okay. That causes me right now a bunch of fear.
Yeah, it's a start. It sounds more startling than it is, just because we have so much. We're so used to being consciously here that being consciously anywhere else is scary for us. Because we've taught us that if we're consciously anywhere else, we're dying. So your
Right?
body is like
Yes.
a failsafe. It's like, no, get back here, get back here. This is why you'll start to meditate, and then your body will jump and pull you out of it. It's not that you don't want to meditate, it's that your body thinks you're dying because you told it that if you leave, you die.
Oh, so it's a frame of mind that we're in, and it's like an indoctrination of the mind, and we need to actually let go of those beliefs.
Yeah.
I see.
Right? There's a thing that they do with horses where they desensitize them so that they're not jumpy anymore. They'll open a bunch of umbrellas, they'll touch them with stuff, they'll rustle and wave things around. Because instinctually, they're going to flinch when something's around. So after they put them through that a few sessions, things happen and they don't jump anymore. We kind of have to desensitize ourselves in order to shift just as easy as we want to, and that takes some work.
Wow, sounds like it. It really does sound like it. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
As far as ministry is concerned, like you said at the beginning, I am a teacher, educator. I teach other people to do the stuff I do. Because for me, I'm trying to work myself out of a job, which is why I give all this stuff away for either for free or for cheap. Because the more people walking in their identity is the less people I have to work with. The more people that know how to heal the sick is the less people I have to heal. I'm trying to work myself out of a job because there's other things I would love to focus on, but I got to teach right now. So that's my main thing, helping people build a relationship with the royal family, seeing them, hearing them, getting connected, walking out their sonship journey, becoming who they are as a spirit, walking in their true identity. All of that without strings attached, because that's some people's fear when it comes to mentorship is, you take a class and then nothing was fruitful about the class, but you're out $400. You buy a book that was $60, and it was just a bunch of their free YouTube videos just in a book form, and you could have saved your $60 because they didn't share anything new. I've experienced a lot of that stuff, so I don't do that to other people. I only really teach the things I have a mastery of. And truthfully, the more I get to teach other people to do the stuff I've already mastered, the more time I get to dedicate to learning some new stuff. It's like I would love to do schools on raising the dead. I've experienced that a few times. I have not mastered that. Therefore, I need time devoted to go and master that so then I can teach it.
Well, I want to hear about that.
Dead raisings.
Can you? I've never. You can do that?
I have experienced it 8 times successfully. I failed 7 times. So I'm a little bit over half with a success rate.
Oh my gosh, Nelson, can you touch on that
Sure.
a
So
little bit here,
the last dead
please?
raising I did was a dog. So for people that think, this stuff isn't for the animals. The Bible says you preach the gospel to all creatures. All of creation is groaning for the awakening of the sons. 2 separate verses, but I've often said if you're preaching a gospel that the animals can't benefit from, it's not the gospel. It's not good enough news if only people get to benefit. So this was a few years ago. This was early 2021. This was January of 2021. I was at home. I was in the middle of a 4-day fast. And no, fasting doesn't necessarily give you any power, separate topic. But this day I was fasting. I did something that you probably shouldn't do while you're fasting, but I don't care. I wanted a milkshake while I was fasting. So I left out my house. I'm on like day 4. And I go to get my milkshake. I step out on my porch, and around this time there was this dog that used to always run from down the street to come see me anytime I came outside. And I thought it was strange that when I came outside just now, she didn't come meet me. And I looked over to the side and she was dead in my ditch. And I'm like, "Aw." It's like I go check on her, I poke her and everything. Gone. A little trickle of blood coming out the nose. I'm like, "Oh man." So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my milkshake. You know, 4 days into a fast, I want my milkshake. So I get in my car and I make it down the street, same block, but I make it down the street to the stop sign. And I kind of have a heart to heart with myself. I'm like, you're this person that preaches about immortality, how the animals are supposed to benefit. You preach about life, light, and truth, and all this other stuff. And there's a dead dog in your ditch. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, that's kind of like a breach of territory. And I kind of want to take that as a challenge. So all I said was, be back when I get back. And then I left. I went to Whataburger, got my milkshake. I come back and the body is gone. I don't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, well, maybe the city came and picked up the dead dog out the ditch. Maybe someone else came, put it in the trash. Like, I even opened my trash can to check, and I'm like, okay, she's gone. Oh, well. I make it up the stairs, put the key in the door, and I see the dog run from across the street. I'm like, oh, she's back. It worked. Wow. So when she came, met me, I took a little picture of her. She was grinning and everything, but that was the last dead raising I did.
That's interesting.
But that's not something I've mastered. Like, I can teach healing. I've had success with healing since I was in high school. That's something I know the science of. I can teach, I can do. Dead raising is something I've had almost 50-50 success rate with. So I'm not comfortable teaching that yet. So with more free time, that's the type of stuff I can master and then teach. Because I think I'm just as tired of funerals as the rest of you are. Especially because I know
Absolutely.
that death serves no purpose. You don't have to die to go to heaven. That's why so many people die. They let churches convince them that the only way they get heaven and the only way they get peace and the only way they get to really get to know God is when they die.
That's right.
And I know that not to
Well,
be
that's
true.
when I told you that earlier, right? This when we got on just for that quick chat. I felt odd in my NDE, even that he came to me.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the way I felt was how you just explained it, you know? And I'm sure I'm not the only one, or there's a lot of people who walk in the same shoes. My next question, though, is just so I don't forget it, is when you're doing your teaching, does someone have to have an idea of religion or know anything like that? Or can they come in green and just say, hey, I'm interested in learning from you. I like what you're saying. Can I learn? Do they have to have any prerequisites to kind of join your program?
I'd prefer if they don't have any preconceived notions. It makes it easier.
Yeah,
A lot of
right.
my teachings is
Okay.
getting people to unlearn the nonsense they learned from other places. It's like, well, maybe I gotta die to go to heaven. It's me teaching you that no, you don't have to die. Because then we go back to Yeshua's messages. He's like, oh, the kingdom of hand is at hand, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And we let churches tell us we gotta die to get it. And he said it's already here. So a lot of what I
Well,
do,
I absolutely agree with
yeah,
that.
a lot of what I do is having to help people unlearn that type of stuff. So if they come and they don't have all that in the way, easier for me.
And just one question before we part our ways shortly. Nelson, how did you get all these, not powers, but how did you learn all these things? And do you think this was your path in life? That was you were walking, or I don't know, want to say a pre-planned, but do you think this was your path, your journey to walk on?
Yeah, part of what I'm called to do is be somewhat of a jack of all trades. I learn a little bit of everything so that way I can help everyone walk in whatever their purpose is. Like, everyone isn't called to everything that I do. That's unrealistic. But you might be called to two of the things, and those two things I can help you with. So even the way that I wrote
Okay.
my book, Fullness, Guide to Sonship and Mysticism, it's a textbook. So you might not be called to everything in that book, but the parts that you are, there's sections dedicated to helping you learn how to do it and walk it out. So I learned how to do all of this just from consistently meeting with the royal family, interacting with the seven spirits of God, working with angels, working with saints from the cloud of witnesses for the last almost decade. It's been like 8 or 9 years of me consistently learning, practicing, and going out to experiment. Right? Most people don't heal the sick because they never try. They don't think they can, so they never do. I went out and tried. I was like, well, the worst thing that could happen is nothing. So I only have something to gain by trying.
That is interesting. Can you actually go back and talk about that book again, please? And also, if you could let us know where the audience can grab that book. I will have all the links in the description box below, but I still want you to talk a little bit about the name and where we can get it.
Yeah, so my book, that book is called Fullness, Guide to Sonship and Mysticism. It's a textbook that walks you through my life and the specific practices that I go through to help me get to everything that I was walking in at the time that I wrote that book. It's a step-by-step how-to guide that gives away everything. Talks about who the seven spirits are, what is sonship, what is mysticism, how to heal the sick, how to do this, how to do that. I put all of that in that book because, like I said, I'm trying to work myself out of a job.
Thank you for doing that. And what can we find on your website?
So on my website, first, to answer the last part, because I almost forgot.
Yep.
You can find that book on Amazon. You can find all my books on Amazon. If you want the ebook specifically from me, it's no different than the one you'll get on Kindle. But if you just want a downloadable copy, you get that off the shop on my website. So caveofmystery.org is my website. There you have all my social media, my Instagram, my YouTube. Patreon is where I have all of my teachings at. I have classes coming up. I do periodic classes just when I have time for them. Like I have a healer's course coming up. I have a spiritual warfare course, but that one is close to selling out, so I barely want to promote it. I'll do another one next year. My next mentorship course is like 13 weeks. That'll be announced soon, likely in October, but it'll actually be in spring of next year. But all of my classes, my courses, information about me, my shop, all of that's accessible through my website.
And do you have a YouTube?
Yes. Cave of Mystery. Even for some of you, I know people are like, okay, I might not have the money for Patreon. My Patreon's only $10, but I do have a playlist on YouTube called Sonship and Mysticism Basics, which is kind of like a free mentorship program for people who might not have the money. They might be in another country where the US dollar is a bit different for them. So that's the closest I have for like free training. I do a monthly call on my Discord server. Again, all those links are on my website. Every first Saturday of the month, I do a Q&A for Patreon. I do a group discussion with the Discord. Yeah, I try to get as much done as I can.
Oh, I think that's awesome. You're doing a great job. You know, we just touched on like basically the cold notes of really what you do. I would like to actually have you come back and like actually go through a topic because you are there's so much you can learn from you. But we just kind of touched on a little bit of the cold notes there. But I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your remarkable journey and profound wisdom with us today. Your courage to seek the truth beyond boundaries and your willingness to walk between worlds is very inspiring, Nelson. I can't tell you. I'm very inspired by that. We are grateful for your openness and your teachings and the light you bring to every path you walk. May your message continue to touch hearts and awaken souls around this world. And to my audience, I invite you to carry these insights with you, letting them open new doors within your own heart and your spirit. Remember, wherever you are on your journey, you are never alone, and the search for truth and connecting is always unfolding. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.